can angels help heal our hearts?
We as human beings have to have a process or a practice to allow ourselves to be open to connecting, communicating, receiving that energy. Raphael helped me to believe that healing literally could happen physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And Shamuel is the angel that really guided me to dig deep into loving myself unconditionally. And we can just surrender to the highest, greatest good. Miracle after miracle for sure has happened in my life with the support of the angels.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever needed to heal your heart, then do we have the Invoking the Archangels show for you. Today I'll be talking with Sunny Dawn Johnston, psychic medium, angel expert extraordinaire, weekly columnist for Women's World magazine, and the author of at least 21 books, including The Love Never Ends and Invoking the Archangels. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about calling on archangels to heal your heart and finally find forgiveness once and for all. That, plus we'll talk about August 27th, 1997, 106-degree fevers, Louise Hay and You Can Heal Your Life, what on earth is a round to it, and what in the world great big blue bubbles around the house has to do with anything. So welcome to the show, Sunny. Are you ready to shine?
I'm ready. That's a great introduction. I didn't even know what we were talking about. I'm ready.
Excellent. And I'm going to leave you with a zinger right here, and then we'll dive into things. So before we dive right into things, the reason I said it was taking a little bit extra time for the setup is I literally just drove back from the hospital to an Airbnb that I'm staying at with my wife's blessing for my first interview since we gave birth. We've had 3 miscarriages, lost a twin recently in utero, and baby Hana is in cardiac intensive care, recovering beautifully from cardiac surgery. I opened up your book and said, she gets it. You've been down this road as well. Would you mind sharing a little bit of your journey? Because this was the book I needed right now. And thank you.
Oh, I love that. You know, something that's not in the book also is that I had a cousin that I was with when she gave birth to her baby that was diagnosed with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And so had open heart surgery 3 days after he was born. So I've walked that entire journey as well. And he's 19 years old and healthy and has had a heart transplant since. So just a little extra synchronicity there for us today. Goosebumpy, right? Whew. I love it. Well, congratulations first off. And I'm happy to hear that there's some peace and growth and everyone's healing. So that's fantastic.
Thank you. So let's dive into a little bit of your story. And I guess the first most important question to ask is, did angels save your life?
They did, actually. Literally, angels saved my life. You know, I have so many stories about how the angels have saved my life in a variety of ways. I think, you know, probably the greatest one is where it all began. That isn't the most exciting one, but had I not had the encounter with my guardian angel when I was 13 years old, I don't think I would have been open to hearing the messages, to making the connection, to connecting the dots in times when I really needed to pay attention to their guidance and support. And so the way it started, you know, I went to bed one night on a regular, average, everyday night, and I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning and rolled over, and I saw my guardian angel above my bed. And it wasn't so much the visual, it was the feeling and the experience that I had was this immense unconditional love that just felt like it just moved through me. And I didn't even have thoughts. I just knew that this was an amazing experience. The colors that I saw in connection with my guardian angel were colors I couldn't even use words to describe. And I literally was so calm, 13 years old. I was so calm that I just rolled over and went back to sleep. And it wasn't until the morning when my head kicked in that I was like, oh my gosh, what was that? And I ran downstairs and I told my mom, and she said, well, Sunny, that was your guardian angel. And I said, I don't think I have one of those. And she's like, of course you do. And that experience awakened me to, number one, the manifestation of my mother's prayer, because she'd asked my angels to keep me safe that night, and created I would say, a curiosity, an openness, a willingness to say, okay, I know that that was real. And what else might be real that I don't see, that I don't pay attention to, that I don't recognize, that I don't listen to? And so that opened the door at that age for this deep spiritual connection that I kind of weaved in and out of throughout the next 15 years, but had so many experiences that literally did save my life over those years while I was kind of figuring myself out, you know?
Today seems important to talk about the story of birth, and maybe it's a rebirth of ourselves by healing our heart. And you had a cousin, or have a cousin, and I have my baby who I've gotten. I get tongue-tied even talking about it. Your first child came, I believe, just before the age of 19, or just after 19. You got pregnant at 18. I'm wondering what happened to your heart, because it seems like when you had your baby boy, you were torn up, and this has been a whole, with the angels, heart healing journey for you.
It certainly has. You know, I think when I got pregnant, I was a teenager. I wasn't planning on having children ever in my life, which I think a lot of teenagers feel that way. And so when I got pregnant, I was scared. I was angry. I had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. But there was signs that told me that I was going to have this baby. And so I knew in doing that I would be a single mom. I knew that his birth father wasn't capable of raising him. And I also knew that I would figure it out, but I didn't know how. And so, you know, the energy of the emotions and the worry and the fear and all that, it literally just took over my body. And by the time I was 4 months into my pregnancy, I had developed toxemia, which a couple months after that turned into preeclampsia, which then turned into eclampsia. And so I was on bed rest most of that pregnancy. I had to move back in with my mom and dad and have them take care of me. And that wasn't fun for any of us. And then when it came time to give birth to him, I was induced, and after 36 hours of labor, I went into a stroke. And my blood pressure was extremely high because I had eclampsia. And so they did an emergency C-section, knocked me out. And when I woke up, I was a mom. I had a baby, and he was healthy, gratefully. But I wasn't. I ended up with infection throughout my entire body, and for almost 3 weeks was in the hospital with 106.3 degree temperature, and basically just the doctor saying, we don't think you're going to live through the night. And that's where finally hearing that is when I said, oh, I need some help. Like, I'm really sick. I didn't even recognize how sick I was. And so at that time, I don't remember if I called on Raphael or if Raphael appeared, but whichever way it was, because it feels blurry sometimes, I immediately had this awareness that I needed to allow myself to breathe in this healing energy. And as I did that, for 12 hours straight, you know, my arms were strapped down because I'd had a C-section and because I was full of infection, that it was itchy. So they strapped me down. And so I was literally strapped open, you know, and the next morning, so I did this exercise. I breathed in this beautiful green healing energy, and I would breathe out this heavy, dark gut is the best word I could describe. And after 12 hours of doing that, the next morning, my fever broke for the first time in that nearly 3 weeks. And that was the beginning of, I believe, the releasing of the fears and the opening of the heart to my new role, which was to be a mom. And without that intervention at that time, I'm certain I wouldn't be alive because the doctors didn't think I was going to be. And that created for me an opening to recognize how important and valuable it is to stay connected, not just to, maybe do it when you need help, but stay connected and to really call the angels in for any level or degree of miracle. It doesn't have to be, I'm on my deathbed. We could do it sooner. So that's what they taught me. And, I had a long healing journey after that, but fully recovered. And my son was healthy. And so that started the new journey of motherhood and all that brought, which was a whole nother experience.
I want to go to your heart even more. It feels like to me, well, there's no feels like. All of our experiences are matched to our wounds perfectly to help us to heal. You went through that childbirth, and it's interesting, stroke, head, heart. Forgive me. My brain is a jumble of baby brain and putting pieces together at a level beyond thought, if that makes sense right now. And you went through a series of miscarriages, trials, tribulations, all of these things afterwards, before your next baby. And I'm curious if you had, forgive me for asking it this way, forgotten your connection to the angels, or what happened, because you were experiencing what has probably made you an amazing teacher. You were experiencing a heart that was completely trashed and torn apart from the inside out, which is so many of us today.
I think that what happened was during those 15 years after I had my first experience with the guardian angel, I had many, many, many experiences with the angels and the archangels. And I really struggled to feel worthy of allowing them into my life. And, being a teenage mom, being on food stamps and welfare at that time, struggling with feeling just worthiness in general, that when it was time, when I was like ready to, now I was ready to intentionally have a family, and the first pregnancy ended, I was pissed. I was angry. I felt like I was being punished because I already had, a child, and I didn't do it in the quote right way by, being married and all that. And so I was really pissed. And I think in that I shut myself off from that help and that support. When the second baby a few years later came in, I was scared because I was afraid of, number one, the first experience I had, number two, the second experience I had. And so I was afraid. And in that level of fear, it activated the part of me that didn't feel like maybe I don't deserve another baby. Maybe I haven't been a good enough mom. Maybe I didn't really know what I was doing and this isn't meant to be. And so that happened with the second and the third. By the third one, I was done. I wasn't going to have kids again. I was just done. But then I had this amazing, miraculous kind of shift that said, there's another spirit here for you, and you need to open up to receive it. And you do deserve, and you are worthy, and everything that's happened has been learning and has been healing and has been heart opening, and this will be too. And so I think that I struggled a lot over those first 15 years with, pushing the love away, that unconditional loving energy of the angels, and then bringing it in, and then pushing it away, and then bringing it in. And I'd have an experience and it'd be like, oh, this is so cool. And then I'd go, oh, but nobody really understands this, and everybody thinks I'm weird and a little on the nutsy side. And so I was also at the same time trying to be normal, trying to fit in. And I don't fit in. I never have fit in. I don't fit in. But at that time, I still had that kind of the training that I had been raised in. I was raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'd had these experiences with angels. Then I started seeing spirits, and it was not accepted. And so that those old stories and those feelings of not being good enough and worthy just rippled through every aspect of my life, until I had this beautiful and amazing experience with my next son, my youngest son, that I really believe not only healed many aspects of my heart, but literally healed me from many physical issues that I'd been having throughout those years. And so, miracle after miracle for sure has happened in my life with the support of the angels. And pregnancy it's for sure not my favorite thing, but it has been the thing really that has expanded me the most. One of the greatest things that expanded me the most.
For myself, I tend to get my lessons in big cosmic 2x4 wax. I got my most recent on my wife's birthday this fall when an SUV hit me. And I'm lucky to be alive. And then we lost a twin after that. It sounds like you got the cracked open of your heart to help you heal a heart that had a mega dose of scar tissue and wasn't beating properly. How did Raphael, Archangel Raphael, how did Raphael help you with, I'm guessing, self-judgment, tearing yourself apart and tearing your heart apart?
I think that I had a team, because I'm a little more work than just one. Only just one can't handle me. It's like, okay, we need some extra help here. So I think Raphael helped me initially on a physical level, helped me to believe that that healing literally could happen physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But I also worked a lot with Archangel Shamuel. And Shamuel is the angel that really guided me to dig deep into loving myself unconditionally. And because that's why I couldn't receive that love, right? That's why I couldn't receive the support. I couldn't receive the guidance. I couldn't receive the help. I couldn't receive the wisdom that the angels were giving me, and they were giving it to me. And so over that next pregnancy, Raphael helped me to initially, when I first got pregnant, I got scared again and my body reacted, and then I went right on bed rest. And then I took about 3 months and I worked with the angels and I asked them to help me move any energy that was holding me back from receiving a beautiful, healthy, amazing pregnancy and healthy baby. And what would happen is I would have all of those kind of negative, stinking thinking thoughts and stories and all that would go on. They would show up and they would show me that I could just embrace those and love that part of me, not resist it, not push it away, not ignore it, not deny it. Just, hey, this is what it is. And that would create healing. That would move the scar tissue. That would allow me to breathe in that love. And so during those 3 months that I was on bed rest, I did a lot of emotional and energetic work, because what else are you going to do when you're laying down for that many months, right? It was, even just as you asked the question, I was like, so interesting, because it was an easy, no problem pregnancy after that point. And that opened up to, of course, you read the miracles that happened afterwards, and that connection being so strong to with the angels that I didn't doubt when I got the messages, which actually then saved my son's life.
How did you dive deep into Shamuel?
It was interesting, because when I started working with Shamuel, the first thing that I was aware of is my negative self-talk. That's really where they started with me. And so the support and the suggestion was that every time that I would be aware of the thought, because first you got to be aware of them. And that wasn't easy for me, because I had, there's so many going on in there, right? They say we get 20 to 70,000 thoughts a day. But when I would catch them, I would find that almost all of them were worry, fear, judgment, criticism. And so what the guidance was as soon as I caught it, to start to flip it to a message that would be of love, that would be loving kindness to myself. And so initially, I would just flip it and just say the word out loud. I couldn't feel it because I wasn't ready for that, but I would at least just, okay, yep, I caught that, and I would flip it. And then what started to happen is they gave me a little process. And this process I still use today. So when a negative thought comes up, then what I do, if I'm not around people, then I acknowledge it and I say out loud, thank you for sharing. So I'm literally just acknowledging the thought that is popping up, that's creating an awareness in me that this is an old story or this is a fear or worry. So I acknowledge the thought, thank you for sharing. I am choosing to focus on, or I choose to direct my energy to, or some form like that. And then I put in where I'm going to move my energy to, because the thoughts are just training. And it's just what I've done for how many years. All of us have done that. And so we don't even recognize that we're in a story. We don't recognize that. So the angels were telling me if I could get out of my mental head, I would do great. Well, we all have these mental heads. So we've got to not ignore them, but certainly recognize and be in charge of, be aware of and redirect when necessary. So they gave me that little process, and that literally changed my life, because I never realized, number one, how negative my mind was, and number two, how much I not only had that for myself, but projected it outward, which I felt terrible, because I'm like, I'm a nice person and I'm thinking these things, like, oh my goodness, what about people that aren't nice? That was my first thought. And so then I'm like, oh, that's not very nice right there, Sunny. So that helped me to start to embrace that love. And then Shamuel also would have me do visualization exercises of bringing in the energy of unconditional love and visualizing pink surrounding me and supporting me and inviting Shamuel's energy in each day so that I had the support. It was so much for me about learning how to receive, period.
If we back up, thank you so much for sharing. If we back up one step before that, I'm thinking from the audience perspective, and you may have already fully answered this, but me, had an issue, so have myself, it was something in the past as well, an issue of judgment and self-love and not being worthy of. How were you able to even get past the I'm not worthy of to go to Shamuel to get the assistance that you needed?
I don't think I went to them. I think they came to me. So I think what happened, really honestly, Michael, is that I left. So our angels are always with us, and they don't leave us, we leave them. And I left. They were there. And because of the depth of struggle, of pain, of fear, of loss, it's almost like I was in such pain that there was no other place to go. So I was willing to then be open to what might be there for me. So I don't think that I don't feel like I went to them when it initially happened. I think they came to me, and it was in a time where I maybe was in a vulnerable enough state, or in a broken, I don't like that term, but like I felt broken down enough that, like, what else am I going to do? Like, it's my last shot.
It takes us to the word that I've been getting time after time. I've been pulling cards recently, oracle cards, and keep getting Zadkiel surrender, Zadkiel surrender, Zadkiel. I mean, I got it over this week of birth. I pulled the card at least 5 times, maybe more than that. Every single time, Archangel Zadkiel and surrender. And that sounds like what you're talking about as well.
For sure. You got it. You got it. And that's a great word. And you've got your Zadkiel color on today. So you got the forgiveness going. You got the surrender going. I'm open. I'm ready.
Thank you. And I want to dive more into Zadkiel and forgiveness in a minute. Before that, you did mention the miracle of saving your son's life. Would you mind sharing that with us?
So I was open and I was ready and I was excited. Now I wasn't in fear anymore, because it literally helped me to just transmute that energy. And I knew that I had the support. And so it's like I had this belief in myself and my ability to mother this child, my body to take care of it. And my son was due on September 14th. And on August 25th,
which is my birthday. So I found that interesting.
beautiful, look at the synchronicities. So on August 25th, I woke up and I knew, I didn't hear any external voice, but my spirit said, you need to have this baby now. Like there's something wrong. And I called my doctor, who had been with me through all of those losses. And I said, I need to have the baby now. I said exactly what I heard. I need to have the baby now. There's something wrong. And she said, I'm sure she hears that from every pregnant woman when they're 3 or 4 weeks away, right? And she said, Sunny, I just saw you last week. Everything looked great. You're fine. I'm getting ready to get married this next week. And so when I get back, if, we'll have you checked again, but you got a good support system. We have a doctor on call, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't understand. And I was sobbing and she's like, I'll check in with you when I get back. And so I hung up the phone. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm trying to in my head think, okay, how can I make myself go into labor? But she called me back about, maybe an hour later. And she said, with every one of the babies that you've lost, you knew. And there's something about she called it mother's intuition because she wasn't quite as woo-woo as I am. She goes, but there's something about your mother's intuition that I am not willing to ignore. So can you come in and we'll get you scheduled to have a C-section, because I would have been induced. Normally they would induce, but because of the problems that I had with the first one, and I had my birth plan was to have a baby naturally, no drugs, all of that. But as soon as I got that vision and that message that I needed to have the baby now, I just went in and had a C-section and had him taken. And when they got in, the cord was wrapped around his neck twice. He was completely blue, and everybody nobody moved, and they grabbed the baby, they put oxygen on him, and I could see him from the side, and they put the oxygen on him and a pink line just went right down his face. Like they just literally, the oxygen just breathed life into him. And, is he going to be okay? Is there going to be any kind of brain damage he was perfectly fine, and beautiful and healthy and amazing and wonderful. So, without that awareness, that sign from the angels that said, have this baby now, it's very likely that I wouldn't have had that opportunity, and that he would have passed in utero, which 2 of the other babies that I was pregnant with did as well. So, August 27th, that's the day, 1997.
Woo-hoo. Very different story. However, we found that baby Hana, it was time she needed to come out. And we were told we were going to be induced this past Saturday. And that was not what our plans were at all as well. And that would be right at the 37-week mark. And so we went to the angels. And it's interesting you mentioned about the angels being around you before. I now have this vision of attendees making rounds in the hospital, and they come to you, and the one person talks and the other, and they compare, and now all the angels are by your bed. So we went to the angels last, I think it was Thursday. We went to the angels and we went to Hana and said, we need to be induced on Saturday. If it's for Hana's highest good and the highest good of all, can you bring us her? And Hana, would you mind coming through sooner? And she came through on Friday.
So good, because the induction is so much harder. So I'm so happy to hear that her spirit responded, and you were guided to get that support and get that help and make that connection to, help them deliver her to you, in that sacred way. It's amazing. That birth is an amazing experience, and now she's got a guide in the spirit world, her twin, for her life's journey, and a support system that is beyond anything that you would want. I mean, we are all blessed to have our angels and guides, but in that case, it's even a stronger connection that you'll see throughout her life.
I can see it coming. I can see it coming, and there's There's a special birthmark that I have that I believe is the line that connects the two of them, and I can see that so clearly. A few more things, and then I want to go into a process to help heal our hearts if we can. You mentioned her support, Baby Hana support network. And I'm thinking of your support network and my support network, and everybody, we all have the same support network, but unless we practice it, you were practiced when the time came and you heard she needs to come now. You weren't going, well, maybe. No, I'm probably just making it up. You had been diving into this relationship. How important is it, and how do we dive into this relationship so that we can hear so much more clearly?
Yeah, so important. I mean, that I think is, what I've spent my career teaching people is how to tap into their intuition and how to open up to the signs and messages so that we can have more grace and ease and joy in our lives, and we can feel that connection and know that we're not alone and have that support. So I think when you create that support system, it's almost like when you're a kid and when you're a young kid and you go to your parents and you ask them something, and you know that whatever they say is for your best good. You don't believe that when they're a teenager, but when you're young, you do. And so I think it's like that. It's like you have the support system that this is for your highest good. And now I just need to, on the human level, do whatever it is I can to support that guidance, that direction, those steps. And so the deeper the relationship is and the stronger the relationship is, the easier it is to just take that action without even figuring it out, thinking it through, sleeping on it, all of those things, because there's an instantaneous alignment. It's just an awareness that and that gift of knowing, of clarity in when the swirl happens, which it happens for everybody, but when that swirl happens, the gift and the ability to be able to just tap in and get that sense and that feeling for yourself and then follow through, regardless of what anybody else says or thinks. I always say, over and above everyone else, always trust your intuition. That is my lifeline. It is absolutely, when things seem off, when crazy things are going on in the world, it's that connection that, and the knowing that I have that connection, regardless of anything that's happening in this physical human world, that can bring peace and ease and grace. So I think it's critical. And for the majority of the 38 years I've been studying and practicing and living in this way, it has been one of the greatest gifts. And I think one of the most important teachings is learning to trust and listen to that guidance and developing it, because we can all develop it. You can always get better than you are now. Not always do people recognize that when they're in it, because I'll have people say, well, I'm not intuitive. I'm like, oh, you are. You just turned it off. You just don't listen to it. You just ignore it. You get busy. You're not in the now. You're in the future or in the past, but it's there. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I want to dive a little bit more into that. There's a funny term, maybe not so funny, coming to me right now, which is the poison is the cure. You were so desperate and you're going to worry, fear, judgment, criticism. And then you're going to Shamuel because you were so negative and self everything toward oneself. That the very thing that was negative, totally like flipping to a message of a positive, that is what entrained you. How can we all begin today to be entrained to the angels so that, I teach a process called automatic writing, but I want to know where you would start so that when people, when the crap goes down, Sunny, that the connection is just, the knowing is there.
Yeah, your quote reminded me of something that I share and teach a lot, which is the medicine is in the pain, because that's what's opening the door for us, right? And we don't have to wait till the 2x4 hits. We don't have to get into the pain. Like, we could learn from people like you that are doing these kinds of offerings and sharing with people. Like, we could learn through the books and the classes. We could learn that way, but there's some of us that are a little more hard-headed. There's some of us that are like, nope, I'm going to figure it out myself. And so, first and foremost is just planting that seed. You could just kind of learn and take some classes instead.
There's an expression that I have since my second NDE. May I learn all of my lessons. Kind, gentle, easy, good. Kind, gentle, easy, good. I'm listening.
Yes. And mine is with grace and ease for the highest good. So we've got, see, when you've been one of those 2x4 people, you get to know, okay, let me just ask for it a little bit differently, right? And so there's so many tools that work. I love automatic writing. That's something I think is really powerful and helps people start to create that connection and the validation and the knowing. I'm a fan of helping people to get their pain and their sadness and their hurt and their anger out of their body by writing too. So writing and burning, moving that energy is extremely, extremely powerful to me. That's one of the things I recognized that I didn't do when I was pregnant with my first son, that I use in my life constantly when there's something physical going on, is just moving the emotion, moving the energy so that I can release it so it doesn't have to stay held in the physical body. I think that, for me, one of the ways that has really helped with my clients is learning how to first ask every morning, like being open and asking for spirit to be with you and asking for the signs. It isn't that they aren't there, but when you do that, like for some people that might be through meditation. I personally am not a person that thinks that meditation is asking. I think meditation is just acknowledging that acknowledging that connection with spirit first and foremost, so that this head isn't running the show, but my spirit is being guided. But I think for a lot of people, they need to get things out of their head, which is why writing is so good. So keeping a journal or a notes in their phone that helps them to see the signs as they're happening, as they're learning them. So, let's say they're calling in an Archangel Shamuel and really asking for signs to know that they are worthy and they are deserving. And a lot of times Shamuel would show with the symbol of a heart, or you would be driving down the road, and although there's very few pink cars in the world, 4 of them would be surrounding you. And you'd be like, okay, that's kind of hard to ignore. And so when people write it down and they see it, then they go, okay, I'm not just making this up in my head. And you start to get that understanding that all of this is just reminding you of who you are, where your power is, what you are truly connected to, that this physicalness is not the only thing. It's something, it's important for sure, but it's the connection here that guides the whole thing if you allow it. And so I think that making sure that people see those signs and look for them and track them, at least initially, helps prove to them that there's something greater that is working with them for their highest and greatest good.
Thank you. There's one thing that I teach, I'm sure you teach it as well, which is to carry a journal with you. It's a signs and symbols and synchronicities journal. I call it the 3 S's. And every time something comes up, write it down, because you'll discount yourself. You've had experiences since you were 13. I'm sure at times you still discounted yourself.
Absolutely. There are times where that happens today. And I'm like, what are you doing? You teach this stuff, like, hello, Sunny. So I think, and a lot of times when that happens, it isn't as much because I don't believe it. It's because I don't like the answer. We do have this humanness and we have the things that we want. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that's what the guidance is. But I don't want to do that. I don't like that. So then I'll, pop in and I'm like, oh my gosh. But, because we're here to learn and experience and expand and grow as well.
I can remember all the arguments I had with the angels many years ago when they said, you're going to write a book on automatic writing. And I'm like, you've got the wrong guy. Like, my job is not going to be teaching people how to communicate with the angels. I'm sorry. Thank you. And they're like, oh no, au contraire.
Uh-huh. Well, and that's a great point too, Michael, is that so many of us, I know nowadays there's a lot of people that come to our classes to learn more about how to do this. But for me, it sounds like for you as well, we didn't sign up for a class. we're just like living our lives, doing our thing, and then they're showing up. We're like, what are you doing here? And I'm not really interested. And when I first wrote Invoking the Archangels, which was only, can't believe it was only 11 years ago because it seems like it was 2 lifetimes ago. When they said I was going to write a book and wanted me to write this book, I was in complete opposition. Like, I don't want to. I quit school when I was 15 years old. I do not love grammar. Punctuation to me is a dot, dot, dot. Like, I don't have any idea how I'm going to even do this. And then it just, like, I wrote the book in 6 weeks, front to back. They didn't change anything except for punctuation and grammar, because it was being guided, you know? So whenever you get those signs or those messages that you think are crazy, that's exactly the direction you're going. That's what I know.
Thank you. No, that is such a key point. When something pops into your head, when an idea didn't seem to even come from you, and you go, well, that's insane, you need to pay attention to it. That's probably exactly where you get to go.
Yeah, that's the direction. And that's how intuition, people are always like, well, it doesn't make sense. Intuition doesn't usually make sense. Your head is trying to make things make sense, not intuition. It doesn't need to make sense. It's just where you're going to go.
And there's, I think it's Marlon Brando who said this many, many years ago. You can have it the easy way or the hard way. And that's what your angels are telling you. There is a path. It's not going to be, the yellow brick road where everybody will be singing Kumbaya. Shit's going to happen. However, that path is going to feel a heck of a lot better than the alternative to that.
Exactly. And the higher that you keep your energy and the more positive you are, the more open you are, the more connected you are, the more grace and ease and joy and happiness and whatever words you had in there happen.
Woohoo! We have an RV that we traveled around the country after we were kind of chased out of Colorado by forest fires. And that RV got us through pregnancy, at least through the second trimester and all of the stuff we've been going through. And the RV and truck, their names are Grace and Ease.
I love it. There's way too many synchronicities here. And I just bought a new RV last year, and I do road tours and trips because I love traveling in an RV. So it's such a different lifestyle and a great one, I think.
So I'm with you. We spent a better part of a year, maybe a little bit more, mobile recording studio, everything. We're grounded for a little while, but we're going to get something because baby Hana's going to need to be on the road and having fun and exploring.
Impressive. That's really impressive, Michael, that it's not easy to, and I'm not saying it's not possible because I've done it myself, but it is not easy to do these kinds of interviews and things and knowing like, okay, what's my Wi-Fi going to be like? And am I going to have a connection? Is it going to go out? Is it going to be choppy? Am I going to even be able to connect? And I have an interview at a time because we're in a human world where we actually have times that we have to do things. So I really, that's a big deal. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. And you have felt my pain.
I have.
So with that said, do you have, you wrote one 11 years ago. I expect things may have evolved since then. I can walk you through the process that you had in that book, or do you have a new and improved process to help us work with the angels and heal our hearts?
I think first and foremost, one of the greatest tools that help people the quickest and the fastest is being able to learn how to manage and maintain your own energy so that you aren't in the space of always absorbing the energy of what's happening on the planet. So many of us are sensitives and empaths. And so when you just said that, the exercise that comes to me is just a meditation that can help you to be the observer instead of the absorber, especially with the way that our world has been the last several years. So many people, I think that's why there's so much reaction, is people are just, their nervous systems are like up to here. They don't know what to do. And so it's just react. And that was something I learned when I was 13, and I didn't do a great job of being consistent with it until in my late 20s. But working with Archangel Michael and being the observer, I think has been life-changing. And it can be one of the tools that so many people can use to actually make a difference. And it's simple, it's not long, it's not any, brand new thing. It's like the old things are the most important, the things that have been around in time, and the wisdom that has come, is, I think, what we need to hold on to. Sometimes people want to go so deep and so many layers. I'm like, let's just keep it simple, friends. Let's just keep it simple.
Thank you. So if we're doing and we'll do a meditation at the end. My guess is blue bubble, because I want to go there with your brother. But whatever you feel, how do we go from the absorber to the observer?
So what I started doing, and Michael, so working with Archangel Michael, first off, which I know most people, he's the most popular one, so everybody should know him, right? For me, it was starting to work with him daily. It was a consistent daily practice, not because you have to ask him in every day, but because we as human beings have to have a process or a practice to allow ourselves to be open to connecting, communicating, receiving that energy. And so when I started working with Michael, it was as simple as doing either just a prayer or an invocation or an intention. And then it opened up to, getting a little more grounded and centered so that we can actually experience what's happening in our lives and not hold on to it. So Michael has helped, like, if I gave you an example, if I imagine that this tissue is, let's just say it's, I just got in a fight with somebody, I'm angry, right? So this tissue is carrying all the anger. And what most people do is they have the experience and the anger comes in and it gets stuck right about here. And they let it live here. So then they react immediately because I'm angry. And then this energy, I just want to move beyond it. So I just bury it somewhere. It just sits over here, but it lives over here for a very long time. And then every time we get in that circumstance, PTSD type of things, we react from the same energy that's still living in the body from this little place that, oh, it's hidden, nobody can see it anymore, but it's still there. And so one of the things that Michael helped me to do is learn how to be the observer, not the absorber, and take this anger and actually just let it move through you. Like, just experience it, feel it, observe it, witness it, and allow it to move through you and out of your body. Then you don't have to be attached to it. You don't have to hold it. It doesn't have to be a story that 30 years later you're going to tell. It literally just can move through you. But as empaths, what we do is we don't let it pass through. We feel it, and then it activates us. And then we want to change the world. We're going to fix it. We're going to do whatever we need to do. And part of the observing is just recognizing it's not ours. It's not ours.
There's something in there that also, and it's interesting. In the hospital, I'm going around like yesterday. A mom melted down because it's such an intense place, and there was this huge argument in the hall. And I said nothing but love. But I then go into the elevator, and I'm doing clearing work on myself right there, cutting cords, clearing energy. Because as empaths, and I teach a school of mystics, and to me, every mystic is an empath who's learned how to use the very skills that you're teaching, because the extra sensitive ones, that's a gift. Going back, you're talking about really bearing witness and bearing witness with Michael. It seems to me that if we were to, at these moments, scoop ourselves up and put baby Sunny or baby Michael in our arms and to notice what's going on and notice that emotion and let them know that they're okay and that they're loved. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, that you're safe, that you're loved, that you're protected, that you as the adult Sunny or the adult Michael or the adult person is there to support that pure love energy. That just shifts it. And it also, I think, helps us to not, so often empaths, I love y'all because I'm one too, but I know a little bit about our behavior. And so often what we do is we take this energy and we feel it, and then we need to get it out of us, but we don't know how. So what we do is we go and tell Sally, hey, blah, 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 blah just happened. And then we give this energy over to Sally. And now Sally's an empath too, and she's feeling it. So then she tells it to John, and then John tells it to Callie. And so then we have all these people that are spreading the energy of this one little thing that happened, and everybody's doing that because they're trying to get rid of it. When in reality, I still got it hidden here too. So when we stop telling that story,
cancel, clear, release to everybody from the story I just shared with you. It didn't exist. You didn't hear it.
And, I think sometimes we do it because we're just pissed off or we're whatever place we're in. But a lot of times we don't do it consciously, but we do feel like we need to purge that. And we don't do it in healthy ways, where when we start to work with Michael, number one, we are proactive. So we're on the front end of it so that we can be the observer initially, so we don't have to suck it all up, right? And then if you do, because life happens, you're in a hospital. Hospitals, I'd rather go to a funeral home any day of the week than a hospital. Funeral homes feel sacred to me. Hospitals feel like to me, right? I'm sure a lot of empaths feel that way. So we can be the observer of it and not get so activated by all of it that then we need to, spread it and make one experience for one person become something that 25 people or 25,000 people or 25 million people feel.
On that note, let's go back real briefly to Archangel Zadkiel. How important is self-forgiveness, and how do we work with Archangel Zadkiel on this?
So, oh boy, Zadkiel, he's not the favorite.
Oh, he's my homie right now, though.
He's not going to be, I'm not his favorite right now. He's not the favorite because forgiveness requires us to be, it requires us to take responsibility, self-responsibility. And so when I was going through forgiveness work, I did this about 25 to 30 years ago. I was trying to figure out where do you start? You've got all these people you need to forgive. And you're like, I know, I got to forgive my dad, my boyfriend, my blah, 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 my teacher, my blah, blah, blah. So I had this whole list of all these people I need to forgive. And so I asked Zadkiel, okay, where do I start? And Zadkiel's like, start with you. Well, I wasn't even on the list. It hadn't even occurred to me that I would start, like, I had all the people and start with you. And I'm like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to be doing here. And so then as I started working with Zadkiel, what came to my awareness during the process, which was a 2-year process, by the way, doesn't have to be that long, I'm just a slow learner, was that I was the common denominator in every one of the experiences with all of the people that were on my list. And so as I did my healing work, and then I felt really complete at that time, because there's always layers that show up, but I felt complete at that time. Then I went to my list, didn't have anybody to forgive. And so what Zadkiel taught me is that to forgive means to give to you, to give to yourself, to give yourself the freedom. And the way you do that is you find the gift, the silver lining, the blessing, the possibility in the experience. If you can find the gift, the blessing, then you can come to the other side of it. I love Oprah's quote of what forgiveness is. And she says that forgiveness is letting go of the idea that the past could be any different than it was. And I think what that does is that pulls us into presence. We don't stay in the past and, well, they should have done, they didn't do, whatever. It's not going to change. So letting go of that idea and then finding the gift or the blessing in it. How did we grow? How did we expand? What happened in our soul's journey? What wisdom do we have? Even if it was the most painful experience there are things to take from it if we're willing to see it. And so Zadkiel, that's where Zadkiel started with me, was work on yourself. And I'm like, I wasn't even part of the equation. I didn't think I was.
I'm now careful about how I'm phrasing this because I don't want to gift anybody the energy of this one. But I did find it such an interesting synchronicity that I felt I had to bring it up. Just an hour before talking with you, and I'm finishing up reading your book, the phone rings. And it's the special delivery department or special delivery unit that delivered and saved our baby girl, Hana. And they said, we didn't have time to talk to you. Everything happened so quickly beforehand. But we have, everybody, you might want to put yourself in a bubble of love and light here. Now's the time to tune out if you need to. We have the body remains of your baby who didn't make it, who was birthed at that time too. And it's not that it was forgotten. We thought that that we weren't going to get to say our goodbyes. And they called and said, how would you like to say your goodbyes? And I don't think I've had a time to process this phone call yet. I'm going, well, that's interesting. Universe, why did you give that to me right before this interview? And so I'm curious, when you have such a moment, and we had to choose to let go. Her name was it was Miracle, which means miracle. Miracle. We had to choose to let go of Miracle in order to save Hana. You've had to let go of a child before too. Is it going to Zadkiel? Is it going to Michael? Who or where do you go when you have such a... See, I can't help but seeing the positive, and yet I was still gifted this opportunity for healing. So I'm like, but I've got baby Hana, but somewhere in my soul is some PTSD screaming at me.
For sure. Absolutely there is. And I think the angel that comes to me that's helped, for sure, Raphael in healing, but who comes to me, Michael, is Uriel. Uriel helps us to see the bigger picture. And Uriel helps us to have that higher vision that gets us out of kind of, not that we get out of the humanness of it, but we see the greater, grander perspective. And I think when you see that, it helps you to, it's almost like it puts some of the pieces back together. And then you can be in a state of just gratitude and appreciation for the sacrifice that she offered, Miracle offered, in order for Hana to be here. Because I had a friend of mine. I've had a lot of pregnancy stuff. I just am realizing that. But I had a friend of mine that had a similar experience. One baby was either they both were going to go, or they had to let go of one so one could thrive. And so I think when you can see that broader perspective and the gift that they are working together, they're supporting each other. So they were hanging out in the spirit world going, yeah, I'm not quite sure if I want to do this, but hey, I'll help you do, you go be the one, and I'll just channel all the cool stuff from here. And I mean, I just got goosebumps as I was saying that, because what a cool experience that you're going to witness as you move through the pain, and what a great support you can be for those that have walked similar experiences, and many experiences have touched you in this area, not just one thing. So I would say Uriel.
Thank you. And it's interesting because we know baby Hana came through twice. She was 2 of the 3 miscarriages. A boy was the 3rd miscarriage. And we know that it took Miracle holding her hand to get her over the hurdle here so she could come through. Miracle is saying loud and clear she's coming. And if given half the chance, she will come through. But they are, I'm sure, hand in hand completely. Doesn't matter. There is no veil. It's an illusion that there's even a veil. They are hand in hand forever.
Exactly. And that's what, like, the part that I think is so cool for you is you'll see that. You'll see her staring at her sister that isn't physical, talking to her sister that isn't physical, being in that connection, and the amazing impact that can have on the witnesses around that. Oh my gosh.
Woohoo!
Yay, that really is cool. So gosh, I'm impressed that you even could show up today, for real, like to leave and all of the things that you did. I totally would have just rescheduled, but I appreciate it, because when you're in the energy of it and the emotion of it, sometimes this energy can move. It moves even quicker when you're just, it's almost like I'm focusing on something else, and download, all this energy can come through.
I started your book. And I wasn't sure, because I'm going, I just want to be by my baby's side, and I'm going to rush off. I'm going to upload, and then I'm back there, and I'm back there first thing in the morning till last thing at night. My wife sleeps in a cot there to be by your side. But I read your book, and I'm like, damn, she gets it. I'm like, universe, you're excuse me, there's a lot of profanity in me today. Universe, you're effing with me here. I know it. You put Sunny here for a reason. I have to do this interview.
I really, really understand. I understand the needing to do it when you're in it too. So I honor and appreciate your spirit that could come up when the human part of you is just wanting to be the dad and the husband to be there and keep people safe and secure. So
thank you. So last couple things. First off, we've mentioned so many archangels here today, but out of those or any others, who's your favorite and why?
ooh. See, this gets me in trouble.
I know. Such a human question, isn't it?
You know, I really think that Shamuel is my favorite. And I think because without being able to have learned to love myself, I truly couldn't actually love anybody else unconditionally. And I think that if I had to live a life without experiencing and feeling that, I would be robbing myself and others of that journey. So I think that Shamuel helping me to recognize that and work to find that love and find that value and that worthiness has allowed me to do the work I do and changed my life and others because of it.
Woohoo! On that note, where can people go, Sunny, to find all of your beautiful work, to find all your books, your programs, your oracle decks, the works, and Invoking the Archangels?
Oh, thank you. You can go to my website, my name, Sunny Dawn Johnston with a T.com. All my information's there. I'm on social media and, we always have lots of programs and things that can help support people in growing their intuition and connecting with their angels, of course.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And before I go grab Rue here for a meditation, any last words of wisdom on anything or on specifically healing our hearts?
I guess what I would remind you all is that it can take time, but it doesn't have to. Time is a human element. And so when we open up, we can have miraculous healing. I've experienced it physically, emotionally, and I think most people have, even though that's not what they recognize. So as you open up to the angels and as you just allow yourself to learn to receive, not just always give until you're empty, but learn to receive, the energy of love and support and healing happens in ways that you couldn't plan. You couldn't even schedule the way that it can happen. I mean, just like the synchronicity of Michael and I being on here today, and I just sent you the book yesterday. So that's another miraculous, and you obviously read it. So that's another miraculous thing. So it can be that quick, but you have to open yourself up. And the other thing the angels taught me is you've got to be willing to ask for that. You've got to be willing to ask to be open, to ask to receive, to just be in that state so that it can come. Because so often we sit like this, we're like closed and, well, it hasn't happened the way I wanted it to. It's not showing up on the day. It was supposed to be here on Thursday. We get into our heads so much. So when we can just be open, and surrender was a great word you used, Michael, surrender. And we can just surrender to the highest, greatest good and trust. Sometimes we may not trust the human experience, but can we just trust our spirit? If we can trust our spirit, then we're good.
I think that's that's the greatest lesson perhaps in this whole journey, and we'll keep getting opportunities to remember that.
Yes, we sure do. No matter how evolved you are, no matter what you do, no matter how much you've taught, no matter how many books you've written, and no matter how many millions of dollars you've made, you're going to get the opportunity to experience more.
All right, let me go grab Rue. I'll be right there.
Wow.
I know.
Love it.
This is Rue, and he has rescued us. We could say we rescued him, but he rescued us in the state of Colorado. He's been with us about 2 years. He's very special. He is an empath's empath because his job is to protect and watch over his flock so he can see. Some of us are gifted with the ability to see energy. You can see energy. He can see energy and see thoughts. So if I have an errant thought on the other end of the house, you'll suddenly hear him screaming to protect us.
That's amazing.
And he has been such an angel because he joins us. Fortunately, the Tesla has what's called a dog mode, or I call it a rooster mode. He sleeps every day. He goes out for walks in the city, but he sleeps every day in the car while we're at the hospital. So he's been a miracle bird.
That is amazing. That's amazing. And look how calm he is.
You're such a good boy. Oh, there he goes, melting.
Uh-huh. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So, would you mind leading us in a meditation of your choice? Or if you want to lead us in this blue bubble, would you mind briefly sharing how, what a crazy, amazing experience, how your brother saw a blue bubble and then helping put us all in it?
Yeah. I'll share that story because that's a great story and a great visual for people. So right after I had my guardian angel experience, a few months later, my mom and dad had decided to go and talk because they were having some challenges. And they left me to stay home with my brother the first time. So he was 5 and I was 13. And so they left. And after about 15, 20 minutes after they left, my brother was upstairs playing with his toys. And again, he's only 5. And he came running down the stairs and he said, Sunny, all of my friends are black and brown and dark green with frowny faces. And to give you just an idea, he always played with friends that nobody saw. And so we just figured they were his angels, and they were triangles, squares, and circles with wings. And they were all the primary colors. So when he came downstairs, he literally was panicked. And all of his friends had turned from these beautiful colors to these dark, heavy colors. And so, I knew I'd had the angel experience. I knew it was real, but I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, I was 13, guys. I was a teenager. So I wasn't very nice about it. So anyway, I didn't know what to do. And so I was going to just do this little abracadabra thing because I figured, he's 5. And as long as I do something, then he'll just believe me and it'll be fine. And so I went to go up the stairs to do my abracadabra. And there literally was like a energy force that pushed me back. And when that happened, then I was scared too. So I grabbed his hand and we ran to the very back corner of the house and we sat there for hours. It was several hours before my parents came home. And when they came home, I said, all right, I don't know what's going on, but there's some kind of heavy, dark something going on. And you gotta clear it. Like, I'm not going in the other room. And so my mom said, well, I'll call Leo and I'll have her come over. And Leo was an underground psychic in Salt Lake City, Utah in the early 80s. And she said, I'll have her come and clear the space. So the next morning, Leo came over. She's going to clear the energy and get rid of this heaviness or this density. And my little brother went out riding his big wheel. He didn't know anything about any of it. And she came in and she said, all right, I'm going to call on Archangel Michael. And that's the first time I'd heard that term. Even I didn't even know who that was. And he'll come in and he'll clear the space, as if I'm like just bringing a person into the house, is the way that she was saying it. And so, okay, so we sat in the foyer of the house and she asked us to hold hands. And so my mom and Leo and I held hands and she said, okay, I want you to close your eyes. And so they closed their eyes and I closed one eye because in my 13-year-old mind, I was like, well, if this Michael dude is coming, then I want to see him and see what he does. Like, how does this work? And so she does this prayer or this invocation. And it was longer than this, but the gist of it was, I invoke the blue light of Archangel Michael to surround and protect this home from any negative energy or entities, seen or unseen. And so it was extended, but that was the gist. So she says that. My one eye was open. Nothing happened, didn't see anything. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So they're like doing this hocus pocus stuff. And there's this like something needs to be done because I was scared. And so they opened their eyes and my mom, who's an empath, she goes, ooh, I already feel so much better. It's so much clearer in here. And I'm like, oh my God, seriously. And so I'm just about to tell them that I had my eye open and nothing actually happened when my little brother opens the foyer door and swings it open wide and he had great big eyes and he says, Mommy, there is a great big blue bubble around our house. And I looked at them and I looked at him, and he didn't know anything that we were doing. And I had a great awareness that day. I realized a couple things. One, when you call your angels in, they're there. Whether you see them, whether you feel them, whether you recognize them or not, they're there. Number two, always embrace your natural intuitive gifts. I'm a feeler, number one. I was focused on trying to see because I wanted proof. And because I was focused on seeing, I missed the entire experience. And so and it also taught me that when you call Michael's energy in, it helps you because the energy did shift. It was clear. I didn't feel that heaviness, that density. My brother's friends were back. Like, I think it was because my parents had been fighting a lot. And so there was that heavy density in the house. And so what really helped me recognize is we can kind of jump into that blue bubble, because the blue bubble was that energy of protection around the home. And we can do that for ourselves individually so that we can then be in this bubble so that we can observe, not absorb. So that's the story. It's a great story. And it's a great visual. And so I'll just walk you through. It's just a short little meditation to help you to step into that blue bubble and be able to be the witness and not take on the heaviness and the density and the weight of the world, because it doesn't serve any of us. So if you just want to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, a couple of breaths, just relaxing your body, allowing yourself to get present with your breath. With those nice deep breaths, we're just going to pull our attention to the bottoms of your feet. And I'd like you to imagine that you have roots like roots of a tree growing out of your feet and down towards the center of Mother Earth. And as they grow down towards the center of Mother Earth, you feel that connection, that groundedness, that presence in your physical human body. As those roots are going towards the center of the earth, they're getting bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger. And as they reach the center of the earth, you see a beautiful, brilliant boulder. Just observe what color your boulder is. And then imagine wrapping those roots around the boulder, creating that security in your body, that safety, that knowing that you are safe, secure, and taken care of by Mother Earth. Now, as you feel those roots, I would like you to imagine with each breath that you take, you pull the color of your boulder up through those roots. So one nice deep breath in and pulling those roots, the color all the way up, 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 up. And pause for a moment. With your next deep breath, pull that beautiful Mother Earth energy all the way up, 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 up until it reaches the bottoms of your feet. And pause. And then one more nice deep breath all the way up, moving into your ankles and your calves and your shins and all the way into your thighs and hips, and pause. And one more nice deep breath from Mother Earth, pulling all the way up in through your belly, your back, and up into your heart space. As it reaches your heart space, just allow that energy to swirl around in that space. Taking a nice deep breath now, I'd like you to imagine a beautiful golden white light shining down from the heavens. This is the white light of spirit. And imagine it entering your crown, the top of your head, and filling your entire head and face with this beautiful white light. And pause. Your next deep breath, pulling that beautiful white light energy down in through your neck and your throat and all the way down your arms to each and every one of your fingertips. And pause. And with the next deep breath, pulling that beautiful golden white light down from your throat into your chest and allowing it now to swirl around with the energy of Mother Earth. Feeling and seeing, hearing and knowing the connection between your spirit and your body the mother and the father, knowing that you are connected in the center of your body, the center of your being. So feeling that energy swirling around, knowing that you are connected, present in the moment, I would like you to imagine a beautiful, brilliant, vibrating blue energy in front of you. This energy is 7 feet high and 4 feet wide. This is the brilliant energy of Archangel Michael, the angel of guidance, protection, maintenance of energy, helping you in this space to feel centered, to feel safe, to feel secure, to be the observer, not the absorber. So as you feel and see that energy vibrating in front of you, I would like you to imagine yourself just taking a step into that brilliant blue bubble. And as you do, the energy of Michael surrounds you. It's above you, below you, completely surrounding your entire physical body. And in this state, you can observe. You can be the witness. You no longer have to carry the energy and the weight of the world. So with a nice deep breath, we invoke the blue light of Archangel Michael to surround and protect you, to help you to manage and maintain your energy, to be the observer, not the absorber, and to witness life as it happens without being attached to it. Taking a nice deep breath in, feeling that presence, and so it is. So it is.
I'm jello. I'm completely jello. This has been beautiful, Sunny.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Yes, it's been great. And I love that I had a rooster. I've never had that. I really feel like I need to take a picture of the screen so I can share.
Do you see the white ears? His ears change color just as much as a chameleon color change. And they go to white when he's in a calm or sleepy or meditative state. And so you turned his ears from red to white during this meditation.
I think usually I have the talent to do it the other way. I turn people from white to red.
Well, I was a little concerned when you shared the story at the beginning. I'm going, uh-oh. What's Rue going to think now? But he knew there was a happy ending coming up, so he was okay.
Oh, how beautiful. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Well, thank you so much. I've got to wrap things up here. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get invoking the archangels, and begin calling in the angels to help heal your heart today. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! What a brilliant heart-healing interview with Sunny Dawn Johnston on Healing Your Heart, of course, with the angels. On that note, if you want to communicate with the angels, get Rue's book here. Get the automatic writing experience, or get the video-based program and live classes with me at automaticwriting.com. Of course, as an empath, you're a mystic in training, so be the mystic you were always meant to be. Visit InspireNationUniversity.com for our School of Mystics weekly classes. And on that note, click the join button down below to join the Mystic Circle, where you get daily behind-the-scenes videos, sneak peeks, meditations, everything going on with Jessica, Hana, myself, Rue, and much more. Just click the join button down below. And here's a link to the next amazing video. Love you guys so much. Subscribe and click the bell icon for the next amazing show, YouTube premiere, and live event every Monday night with me. Above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Love you guys. Good job, Rue. Oh, you're melting.